Okay. Um, Lots going on in the news, obviously. We wanted to talk to Representative Vicente Gonzalez, who joins us now because of the political stunts going on in general. Greg Abbott, his home state of Texas, obviously Ron DeSantis. Representative, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good to be here.
It is nice to meet you. I have to say, first of all, have we figured out what is going on with this whole Ron DeSantis stunt? How Texas was involved and all of that? Them flying migrants from Texas to Florida for this ridiculous, cruel stunt.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a real shame to our country to have we have a pretty nutty governor in Texas, and then we have a monkey see, monkey do guy in Florida trying to partake in what they I guess feeding red meat to their base by doing something that is just as radical as anyone could have ever imagined, by shipping Venezuelans, of all the Latinos that they could have chosen, Venezuelans who are running from a authoritarian communist dictatorship of Maduro and coming to our borders asking for asylum. I think if our ancestors were alive today, they would be in shock. Normally, we treated people running from communist countries with open arms, and just like we did to the Cuban community, and we did to North Koreans and Vietnamese and many others around the world. So it's quite shocking, obviously, to the American people to see what is happening in Texas and the involvement of the governor of Florida. And I think thankfully we a lot of good people in Massachusetts have taken these migrants in and are taking care of them humanely. And we have a lot of great Americans that still, stand to the cause and do the right thing that make up for, obviously, this shameful behavior that we're seeing in Texas.
Yeah, Representative, that's a good way to explain it. It is just shameful behavior. It shouldn't even be political, should it? I mean, first of all, to your point, these are not illegal. They are seeking asylum. They are here legally seeking asylum. They are not illegal. And this just kind of goes to the way Republicans govern, quote unquote, I put in air quotes, because that's not governing, right? The only entity you notify is Fox News, and you take human beings, babies, children, and just dump them somewhere because, you think that's a cute prank for Fox News. That's not governing.
That's right. And in fact, they had them at a La Quinta in San Antonio, we're finding, for about 5 or 6 days, trying to orchestrate the theater to show Fox News what they were doing.
Wow.
And, we're investigating that now. I think the Attorney General will be looking into this. I believe that these migrants that were moved the way they were and lied to and mistreated, I think may potentially have a cause of action against the bus companies and the airlines company and this plane that flew them there. So we're still getting to the bottom of this, and hopefully it doesn't happen again. But, you can expect this from these two governors.
Yeah. Well, our governor out here in California, Representative Gavin Newsom, said this is kidnapping. I mean, obviously, DeSantis is already under investigation from a sheriff in your home state in Texas, right? I mean, there is a class action lawsuit. It seems to me this has already backfired on him, not just legally, but politically. Can you imagine? I mean, Florida taxpayers saying this is what you use our taxpayer money for our COVID relief funds for?
That's exactly right. I think it's obviously it was a burden on taxpayers. I think they spent $12 million is what's been spent moving migrants. But also, I think his constituents in southern Florida, many Cubans and Venezuelans and Nicaraguans who have fled the same type of that are fleeing these dictatorships, and seeing how their governor is treating people leaving a communist dictatorship, I think is appalling to them. And these are conservatives, generally Republican voters, that I think he's losing.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your Safe Zones Act, because, this happens, of course, and it always is right before midterms when they scream about the border. And for the life of me, I've just never understood why, going back to George Bush, John McCain, that they can't find a way to do something about immigration. And that's what obviously you're working on. This whole, every time they scream amnesty, I'm like, aren't you giving amnesty to all of these millions of people by doing nothing year after year after year?
Yeah, that's clearly true. Recently I was talking to a businessman in Houston who I think said it best. He told me he said American immigration policy is illegal immigration, and it's unfortunate that is how we deal with immigration in this country. Employers know that the person who they're hiring is not here documented. The undocumented worker knows that he's given an ID that's false, and that's just the way the business world works in terms of not having a process for people to have an orderly legal way to be here and work here. We clearly need the labor. We have a labor shortage in this country. They need the jobs. We need to find an orderly way for people to come to this country, to stay in this country legally, to work legally, and get out of the shadows of our society. What my bill does, the Safe Zone Act, this is focused on the migrants that are coming to my southern border in Texas and trying to find a safer way for them to ask for asylum. And what my plan does, it creates a safe zone in Guatemala, on the border of Mexico and Guatemala, similar to what we had in Iraq. But it's a safe zone where migrants are able to show up. It's an American operation, dignified and humane, where people can come and ask for asylum at that juncture. And we use the same credible fear standard that we use on our border. And if they're granted entrance into the country to have a hearing later, at that point they can go to the airport and fly into their final destination. This would do two things. It would take the pressure off our southern border for sure, but it would also take the cartel element out of the equation of bringing migrants to our southern border. Every migrant who you ask how much, who I run into, who was asked in court or just at respite centers, they've all say they've paid $6,000. So the going price is anywhere between $6,000 and $8,000 a head. Cartels last year made about $5 billion bringing migrants to our southern border. And this process would be safer. Yeah. It would get people to their final destination easier, and it's the humane way to deal with asylum. The asylum laws will not change. The credible fear standard will not change. The only thing that changes is we're going to be doing it further away from our border in a safe zone where people can come in safely, process out, and go to the airport and reach their final destination for a fraction of the price and in a safe way.
That is. I am glad to hear there are good people doing good work in Texas, because now I have to bring up Ted Cruz, and I know everything despicable doesn't come from Texas, but I just want to get your take on how you're feeling moving into the midterms. I love that the White House called out Ted Cruz for taking credit for something he voted against, which they all are shameless about doing, aren't they? But
we have a lot of that.
Yes. He literally tweeted, "The Ports to Plains Highway will run from Laredo all the way up to North Dakota and into Canada. This project will bring jobs to Texas and millions of dollars to the state. A great bipartisan victory." The White House just retweeted that with the thing, "Senator Cruz voted against this."
Yeah.
I mean.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So.
Yep. So I have my opponent doing the exact same thing. In fact, she wasn't even in Congress. She got there on a special. Myra Flores is there taking credit for an infrastructure project in the district that she was at one time saying the Republicans who voted for the bipartisan infrastructure bill should be voted out. So this is happening across the country. Republicans vote against our bills, but then take credit for the goodness that's happening across the country from Democrat proposals that we passed and that are doing great for the country. And I think the people know it and see it, and Republicans want to be part of it.
Yeah. Well, how are you feeling about the midterms? I for months now have said I'm just not listening to polls and pundits that have been telling us, oh, this is going to be a huge red wave. I just don't think. I don't think personally we're going to lose the House.
I don't see that. People are very upset. Women are very upset. And we're talking about infrastructure. People are now starting to see shovels in the ground. They're starting to see tangible results across the country, whether it's roads or bridges or drainage and water issue, water treatment plants. We are improving American lives, and they're seeing it in real time. Now, also, obviously, women are very upset in Texas and across the country with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and especially in Texas, we have voter suppression laws that are preventing minorities and people from going to the polls and voting. They had also a very horrible law where they try to codify anti-abortion laws, and women are dying in hospitals and being treated like second-class citizens, and doctors in hospitals are uncomfortable to give care to women because they think they may go to prison for it. And it's something that really takes us back to the Stone Age, takes women back to the Stone Age.
Yeah.
And I know in Texas, in my district, women are very politically active right now, like something I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And so I think Republicans are in for a huge surprise. We saw what happened in Kansas, and we just won a seat in Alaska, places where Republicans were normally victorious. They're losing, and so I don't see the red wave that they were talking about. Now, 6 months ago, prior to Roe v. Wade, and we had some inflation going on. Gas prices are now coming way down. I just filled up my tank for $2.92 a gallon before I came home. Before I came up to Washington.
Oh, I'm driving there to get that gas.
Yeah,
that'll be cheaper for me to drive there here from California.
We're in California. It's still about $5
yeah,
here.
For you guys, it's still up there. But it has come down.
Yes.
Yeah, it has.
From what it was 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago. And I think with that, we'll start seeing food prices adjust and everything else. So I think we're living in a very different time right now than we were 4 or 6 months ago.
Yeah, who knew forced birth and human trafficking not popular as Republicans thought it might be. There was another Ted Cruz story about how parents from Uvalde showed them a picture of their child in a coffin and did not change his stance at all on guns. They went to talk to him about gun, safety, sensible gun legislation, did not move him an inch. I keep feeling like this might be Beto's year. How are you feeling on the ground there in Texas?
Beto is the best candidate we could have gotten for this gubernatorial race. He's got huge crowds at every town. He's going to these rural Republican communities and talking to them. He's doing what hasn't been done before, and I think that there is obviously a real danger for Abbott to lose his race and a real chance for us to turn Texas blue.
Yeah.
And we're doing a lot on the ground. And in my district, I've knocked on over 100,000 doors already, and I think that's happening in every district across the country. Things are looking good for Democrats right now.
Yep, absolutely. And you have single-handedly redeemed Texas this morning.
Yes.
Justin, all right. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Come back anytime. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Love to be back. Thank you.
You too. Representative Vicente Gonzalez.
All right.
Hooray.